A Major Murder. I'm Jason Horton.
I'm Rebecca Lieb.
And this is Ghost Town.
Hollywood is a place of many names, while simultaneously needing no introduction. From the Sunset Strip to the Walk of Fame, the Hollywood sign to Paramount Studios, Hollywood's striking painted face seduces tourists and residents alike through dazzling history and timeless glamour. In the 1890s, investors christened the San Gabriel Mountains Holly, meaning luck, and it was. Cheap labor and year-round perfect weather attracted the imaginations of filmmakers who migrated quickly to Hollywoodland. By the 1920s, it became home to one of the biggest industries in the nation. You guessed it, crowned Tinseltown, the entertainment capital of the world. Now, you probably know most of that, but with people comes institutions that people need. And as Hollywood grew, it needed post offices, power plants, and schools. One such school was Hollywood High School, the setting, along with Hollywood itself, to the tragic and bizarre murder of one of its legendary teachers, Mr. Harry Major. Today, we're talking about the strange secret life and murder of Harry Major. Hollywood High School opened in September 1903 as a two-room school on the second floor of an empty storeroom at the Masonic Temple on Highland Avenue, north of Hollywood Boulevard. And there it stayed, though slowly taking over the storefront and then that part of the temple. After suffering severe water damage from the Northridge earthquake in 1994, it was restored in 2002. The campus is listed on the National Registry of Historic Places on January 4th, 2012, and the school's mascot was derived from the 1921 Rudolph Valentino film of the same name, The Sheik. It's still an LA high school today, with an impressive roster of alumni that includes Judy Garland, Cher, and Carol Burnett. And you can see them because there's a giant mural on the side that I used to drive by every day that has their faces and many, many more. Like Hollywood itself, Harry Major is his own living legend. A 28-year fixture at Hollywood High School, Major loved history, the classics, and molding the minds of the next generation. Most students at Hollywood High revere the strict but captivating Major. He was a favorite teacher of another noteworthy alumni, entertainment icon John Ritter. Though his salary is modest, after he retires, Major created a formidable savings and decided to start a new chapter in his life, in real estate. With friend and landlord Dale Rouse, Major navigates getting his real estate license and gets more involved in politics and social activism, until February 12, 2014. Around 7 p.m. on February 12th, 911 receives a call from Major's friend and landlord Dale Rouse. When police are called to the 1400 block of North Vista Street, they find an apartment in disarray. Casing the small one-bedroom, law enforcement eventually get to the bathroom. There, they find the body of a man, naked except for white briefs, in the bathtub. The victim is Caucasian, approximately 70 to 80 years old, and covered in blood. Investigator Jose Robledo is called to the murder scene. He observes the victim and notices a slight abnormality on the body. The victim's right arm is smaller than the other, and he has one extra finger. With the aid of forensic investigators, Robledo collects DNA, blood samples, and dusts for prints all over the scene. Because of the state of the apartment, there's a lot to sift through, a lot to process. Evidence includes shoes, knives, twine. Nothing is yet known. Anything could be evidence. Two elements of the crime scene give Robledo pause. The first is an open phone book with the name Scott Porter highlighted inside. The second is a voicemail message from a credit card company, citing fraudulent activity on Major's card. Robledo knows these are significant pieces of evidence. He just needs to figure out how. Security footage of the parking garage is also procured and sent to the station for processing. After interviewing the distraught Dale Rouse, the victim is identified as 83-year-old Harry Major. Rouse tells Robledo that he went to check on Major because another friend of theirs, Susan Emanuel, had called him worried. Major had missed their standing lunch date and wasn't answering his phone. As concern for Major's safety grew, Rouse and another landlord enter Major's unit. Inside, they find Major's body and immediately call the police. Robledo notes that while Rouse is Major's landlord, he's also one of his best friends. Rouse helps Major with money, business relationships, and again, they're incredibly close. Rouse can't say enough kind words about Major, adding that he was born with a birth defect that gave him a smaller arm with an extra appendage. According to Rouse, Major was a sweet but sad man, someone he wishes could find a long-term companion, and he would always encourage him to get out there, to even date. Rouse can't understand who would do this to his elderly friend, a man who wouldn't harm a fly. When asked about Scott Porter, Rouse is confused. He has no idea who Scott Porter is. Robledo has to wonder about the men's closeness. Were they together? Was Major in love with Rouse? Or the other way around? Did something happen between them that would lead to the 40-something Rouse lashing out at the elderly Major? The question, who would do this, keeps echoing in Robledo's mind. Police canvass the condo complex looking for witnesses, eventually connecting with Mexican radio personality Luz Braceno. Braceno is Major's next-door neighbor. She sees him almost daily, and their apartments share a common wall. Braceno tells Robledo that she heard a loud thud coming from Major's apartment 2 nights before his death. To her, it sounds like someone had fallen down the stairs. It concerns her so much that she walks over to Major's place to see if he's okay. After knocking on the door, Braceno says a woman responds, "Harry's not here. Harry went to the store." When Braceno asks if everything's okay, the voice responds, "Everything is fine." Braceno then leaves, having to go to work. She suggests Robledo should talk to her sister, Felix Braceno, who cleans the unit on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. She's had her own experience with Major's visitors. Talking to other neighbors, Robledo learns that someone named Scott or Scotty was hanging around the complex, maybe even staying with Major. Robledo realizes that Major has a much more vibrant social life than any of his friends seem to realize. Robledo soon gets a hold of Felix Braceno, who says that on February 10th, she arrives at her sister's unit sometime between 10 a.m. and 12 p.m., after Luz has left for work. She sees 2 men outside of Major's apartment, one who is dressed in her perception like a woman, and one who is dressed like in her perception a man. Both seemed angry and were knocking on Major's door. Felix enters her sister's apartment, and about 45 minutes later, she hears noises coming from the next door, arguing, knocking on walls, and banging. The noise continues for about 30 minutes, and then stops. In the days to come, word of Major's death hits the community of Hollywood and Hollywood High School hard. Dozens of calls and letters come in remembering their beloved teacher. Again, no one can understand how this could happen to their friend, their teacher, their mentor. On February 15th, 2 important pieces of the case come together: the autopsy results and the surveillance footage from Major's parking garage. The autopsy reveals injuries to Major's neck, consistent with being strangled with a belt or strap. There are also lacerations to his head, face, and neck, blunt force trauma to his head, and many ligature injuries to his arms, indicating that he'd been bound with a rope or a cord. Major had died within days of when his body was discovered, likely on February 10th. The surveillance video shows 2 people walking with and without Major in the complex's parking garage between February 1st and February 4th, 2014. They seem to be familiar with Major and each other, often bringing bags up to Major's apartment. When a facial analysis is done on these 2 men, they are identified as James Duraco and Scott Kratlian. Both are convicted felons, previously incarcerated, and from the East Coast. Major last appears in the video footage on February 9th, Duraco February 5th, and Kratlian on February 10th. None of Major's friends, not Rouse, not Emmanuel, have any idea who these men are. Robledo feels that these men hold the key to Major's murder, but he has no idea that this footage would unlock a surprising and secret life of Harry Major, a life not even his closest friends and family were aware of. But for now, let's take a break.
Hi, hello, how are you?
Hello.
How are you doing?
You doing well?
This is it.
That's all. I'm asking you one question.
You had
Just one question.
a full week to prepare
That's all I
your
get?
statement to us.
Wow.
And
Yikes. Well, better luck next week?
better luck next week, and even better the week after. Just keep coming back.
Yeah, okay.
You know, when people that are like end of the world type people,
Mm-hmm.
kind of apocalypse, they're like, the end is going to happen at this date. And when it doesn't, they're like, oh, P.S. wrong.
Yeah,
It's
we were wrong.
the next, it's not for
Next
another
week. Yeah.
couple of months. That's like Ghost Town. You will become a complete person next Wednesday.
Okay.
And the next Wednesday comes. It's
Just
like, no,
keep
whoops.
coming back.
It's just like, hold on, the vision was wrong. It's in a couple more Wednesdays. And when that comes, and then we do this
we
for...
just keep baiting you. Now you know, though. Now it's on you. It's not on
But
us.
you have to go back to the beginning and anything you miss, because if you miss one, then that's, well,
Yeah.
how do you
it's a
expect to be
penalty.
saved?
There's a weird scorecard happening.
Do you even want to be saved? Do you even want to be saved by us?
Don't answer that.
Well,
Don't do it. Just wait till next Wednesday.
this Wednesday, whenever you're listening to this, we want to say hello to
Yeah.
anyone who's listening, supporting the show, spreading the good word, the gospel,
The GT Gospel.
the Doomsday podcast.
Dooms Buggy.
Yeah, the Dooms Buggy. Get in your Dooms Buggy and check out this Doomsday podcast.
Mm-hmm.
The Doom?
The Doom. Point Doom.
Yeah. That's
No?
that's
I'm a surfer.
Yeah. And nothing says Doomsday like a government.
Mm-mm.
They are, I'd say they're the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse.
Yeah, but in the
Cool. Yeah, it's like,
way.
ooh, like rockin'.
It's like, oh shit, they're here, thank God.
Yeah, they're here to rock.
Mm-hmm.
We have the mayors with a Z. Whatever, it's with a Z.
Ooh.
We got Ashley Matson, better known as Ashley's Matsons.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Hi.
We got Dar Rosenzweig as Dar Rosenzweig. No, it already has a Z's in it.
It's got a lot of Z's already built in. She's that cool.
Kat Joselle as Kat Joselle. There's already a Z there.
They're already fucking cool.
But our governor, right?
Mm-hmm.
We know her as Avian Noble. But
did you like that?
I like that, yeah.
Okay.
Avian's Nobles is.
Okay, that's more. Inject as many Z's.
As you can.
Mm-hmm.
Not Z's for sleeping.
No, Z's for zipping upward. I'm 400 years old. Oh boy.
Well, if you want bonus episodes, early access, no chit chat, you want to binge, you want to be saved by listening to those episodes, and you don't want to waste your time with noise.
No.
White noise.
No, you don't want that.
You head on over to
the Patreon tent.
Yeah, it's like a Salvation revival. It's a revival tent from a corporation.
Yeah. Well,
under the banner of patreon.com/ghosttownpod.
That's right. And you put the podcast on up full fucking blast, and you put the phone on your forehead, and you just fucking
you start speaking in tongues.
Let it ride.
And the tongues is just subscribe, like the words like that. Patreon.
Yeah, it's good.
Listen, binge.
God is good.
But take me back to the church that I do worship, Hollywood, California.
Callywood. Nobody says that. All right, let's go back there. So, just to recap, 83-year-old Harry Major is dead. His body is found inside of his apartment. Witnesses hear noises on February 10th, a woman's voice coming from the inside of the apartment. Then surveillance footage identifies 2 men in the parking garage, James DeRocco and Scott Kratlian. Robledo remembers the phone book with the name Scott Porter, the mention of observing a Scott around the complex, and immediately thinks Scott Porter is Scott Kratlian. But then who is James DeRocco? How do both DeRocco and Kratlian know Major well enough to stay at his apartment and yet are unfamiliar with the rest of Major's friends and family? It doesn't make sense. With Rouse's help, Robledo starts going through boxes and boxes of Major's items. What they find shocks them. At first 1, then 2, then hundreds of letters from prisons all over the country. The letters were to and from violent felons, sometimes innocuous and sometimes extremely sexual. Apparently, Major has dozens of prison pen pals and was corresponding for years with felons who provided him companionship and emotional intimacy both remotely and in person. Through the letters, the two realized that Major would begin to write to an incarcerated felon and slowly build a relationship with them. Then, close to their release, he'd invite them to meet up, either at his place in Hollywood or in Las Vegas. Often these relationships would span years, even decades. They were long-term relationships, but at least 10 of them would go on simultaneously, providing Major with the companionship that his best friend Rouse thought he was lacking. Both DeRocco and Kratlian were ex-felons whom Major was corresponding with, though Scott Kratlian, in the letters, went by Scott Porter. Through their detailed correspondence, the two pieced together the bizarrely unconventional nature of Kratlian and Major's relationship. At the end of almost 25 years of incarceration, Major meets Kratlian in, wait for it, a General Hospital pen pal fan club, and the two strike up a friendship that is flirtatious and sometimes sexual. After finishing his sentence, Major invites Kratlian to come visit him in California, saying he'll host him and pay his way there. He takes him up on the invitation, and by February 1st, Scott Kratlian is in Los Angeles. Robledo immediately reaches out to the return address on the Kratlian letters, at Marcy Correctional Facility in Oneida, New York. They send photos and information confirming that Kratlian is a 46-year-old felon who finished the 25-year prison sentence. What the letters don't let on is the darker side of Kratlian. He was in prison for strangling a man named Salvatore Caggiano with a belt, has a horrendous disciplinary record, so much so that his conditional early release was delayed for more than 4 years because of violent infractions. Robledo scrambles to find Kratlian and remembers the credit card fraud warning on Major's voicemail. Going into Major's financial accounts, he sees a trail of expenditures. Robledo calls every location to see if they have CCTV coverage from the day of each transaction. It turns out 2 of the 7-Elevens where Major's card was used do. The man on the camera is none other than Scott Kratlian. Robledo financially spies on Kratlian as he spends Harry Major's money all over Los Angeles, rides on the Santa Monica Pier, dinner in downtown Hollywood. A bizarre interaction happens in the midst of his spending spree, one that is almost cinematic in nature. Kratlian runs into his favorite soap opera star, Leslie Kay, at a 7-Eleven. She's in scrubs picking up some things, having just come from set. He is starstruck. Kratlian shows Kay a photo montage of her that he keeps in his pocket at all times, and the two take a photo together. Later, Kay would joke that she thought Kratlian was overly friendly and, quote, hoped he wasn't a serial killer. On February 18th, 2014, Kratlian decides his vacation is over and checks himself into a medical facility, and Robledo decides to finally make the arrest. In custody, Kratlian denies everything. A comparison of Kratlian's shoes with the shoe prints left at the apartment reveal he could definitely have made the prints at the crime scene, though the evidence that seals the deal is when Robledo finds bloodstains on the tops of Kratlian's sneakers, and the DNA testing confirms it is the blood of Harry Major. After Kratlian's arrest, James DeRocco, the other man on the surveillance videos at Major's home, is found and questioned. DeRocco says he answered an ad from Harry Major seeking a gay pen pal. They correspond for nearly 2 decades, met in person for the first time in 2009, and then several times later. Major would always foot the bill with the expectation of sex and companionship. Quote, he was always nice and kind of generous with me, so I would cuddle with him and we would have sex, says DeRocco, 54, by phone from a Nevada prison where he's incarcerated for violating a parole. He was my friend and I respected him. According to DeRocco, Major had sex with all the former prisoners who stayed with him. In fact, it was a rule. Quote, even straight guys, DeRocco says, a bit astonished. Harry would tell them the only way that they would stay there is if they had sex with him. That's the rules. He would be very upfront with his pen pals. In January 2014, DeRocco stayed at Major's apartment for approximately 2 weeks, and then Kratlian showed up. DeRocco stays in Major's guest room, and Kratlian stays on the couch in the living room. While both have sex with Major, the two themselves did not get along. On February 5th, DeRocco leaves, warning Major that he thought Kratlian was dangerous and to stay safe. DeRocco had daily phone contact with Major for 3 or 4 days after which Major stopped communicating with him entirely. District Attorney Tony Cho uses audio on the 7-Eleven surveillance videos to establish that Kratlian was the woman's voice Luz Brisano hears when she stops by. That, along with the striking similarity of Major to Kratlian's last murder victim, older, a sexual partner found naked and strangulated, leads to a guilty verdict. On November 17th, 2015, Scott Kratlian is found guilty of the murder of Harry Major and sentenced to 56 years to life in prison.